Oh, where have you been, my blue-eyed son? And where have you been, my darling young one? I've stumbled on the side of 12 misty mountains. I've walked and I crawled on 6 crooked highways. I've stepped in the middle of 7 sad forests. I've been out in front of a dozen dead oceans. I've been 10,000 miles in the mouth of a graveyard. And it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard rain you're gonna fall.
This is Rumble, and I'm Michael Moore. Welcome, everyone. We're less than 1 week away from the Battle Royale. I know a lot of you are feeling an enormous amount of stress and anxiety right now. We have no idea how this is going to turn out. That old saying about hope for the best, but plan for the worst. What's our job here on Rumble for the next week? Hope for the best or plan for the worst? My instinct, of course, always is to plan for the worst. But I know it's hard for us to get by if we're not hoping for the best. So maybe it's a combination of the two. Hope doesn't get Trump removed from the White House. Hope doesn't win Arizona. Action can possibly win Arizona and Georgia and Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. But we don't know that either. Because it's always true when you act or take any action. You start out thinking, well, we've got to win this. And we may or we may not. But all the pundits on cable news, though, at least the ones that probably you and I watch, are all upbeat and positive. And look at all those polls. Look at all those great polls where Biden is ahead. And it does. It feels good to hear it. But so do a lot of other things that people could say to you. Wow, you look great today, Mike. Oh, well, thank you. But you look at all the happy news. Biden's ahead nationwide by 8 to 10 points. In Michigan, he's ahead by 10. Just peel it back, though, a little bit. 90 million people have requested an absentee ballot. Did you see that? 90 million absentee ballots. But then you peel it back a little bit, and then you see the truth. Record number, 90 million, have asked for an absentee ballot. As I record this, the total number of absentee ballots that have been returned, 46 million. 90 million requested, only 46 million have been returned. Half have not. And when I heard that on the news last night, my first thought, because they want me to think this, so I'm a compliant viewer of the television box. My first thought was, well, okay, there's still time. Yeah, I hope for the best. There's still time. The other half, the 45 million that haven't turned it in, they'll turn it in. Or, let's see, what could be the other reason? The other reason, of course, instantly comes to your head, and you don't want to think it, and you don't want me to say it right now into this microphone. But the other reason is that a big chunk of that other 46 million are never coming in. Because either all that 90 million ballot request thing means is that they were requested. It doesn't mean that the people ever got the ballot at their home. And it doesn't mean that the ballot is coming back in, ever. Or it will come in a day or 2 or 3 after the election. And as the Supreme Court ruled on Monday night in the Wisconsin case, if the ballot isn't in by the close of Election Day on November 3rd, tough shit. You don't count. The Wall Street Journal yesterday published their investigation. They've been doing this investigation since July. Now, the Wall Street Journal, just let me, in case you don't already know this, there's the editorial side of the Wall Street Journal, which are people that someday will hopefully stand trial for destroying this country. But on the journalism part of the Wall Street Journal, journalism has always been pretty good. And they have had an investigation going since July to see how much was the U.S. mail being disrupted by the Trump administration and by his fat cat postmaster general that he installed back in June to get the boxes taken off the streets and get the machinery ripped out of local postal centers. And it turns out, according to the Wall Street Journal and their investigation, that since July, in many parts of the main swing states, mail delivery has taken an average of 6 days. 6 days to mail something in the state and have it arrive at your city clerk, county clerk, whoever's, you sent your ballot to. 6 days. And now, yesterday, it was revealed that this, in fact, is what's happening. And so the Michigan Secretary of State went on television on Monday night and said, do not mail any more ballots. This is with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of ballots out there in just the state of Michigan that have not returned yet. She said, do not mail them. You must now bring them in person. You must bring them in to the city clerk, to the election board, or bring them in right up until the day of the election, frankly. Wow, that just blew my mind. What about all the people who already mailed them 6 days ago and they're not in yet? They already mailed them. You see what's going on here, right? Yes, I mean, you can feel happy about the poll numbers, but just peel that back a little bit. Look at 2016 and look at now. And yes, by now, Hillary was down to just a 2% lead nationwide, but this isn't a nationwide vote. This is an electoral college vote, and this is about these swing states. And in July, Joe Biden was ahead of Trump by 16 points in Michigan. I saw one poll here yesterday. Trump has cut that lead in half. It's now an 8-point lead in Michigan. And each day, the national average goes down, down, down. It started at the beginning of the week with Biden ahead by 10 points nationwide. Then it was 9 points. Then it was 8 points. And yesterday, it was 7 points. And you know where it's going, folks. It's going to 6 and then 5. In fact, I would say as a rule of thumb right now, anytime you hear a poll in the next few days that says, let's say, Biden is ahead by 6 points somewhere, cut it in half. I mean it seriously. Cut it right in half. The Trump vote is being undercounted. It happened last time. It'll be happening this time, in part because Trump voters think that the fake news and the deep state is calling them, and so they don't give them an answer. They give them a made-up answer or whatever. So you can't trust it. You just don't go by it. Safe rule of thumb, cut it in half. And then you're down when you've cut the 6-point lead to 3. Now you're within the margin of error, which is usually around 3 or 4 points, plus or minus. That's how close this is. We all get this, right? Turn the TV off. I'm sorry to say that because I'm occasionally on it and I'm trying to tell people this, but I just need to warn you about what's going on. And we need to plan for the worst here. We need to have our heads wrapped around it. Now, how do we get there? How do we get there if we don't hope? If we're not hoping for the best? Well, let's just state that our actions, whatever little bit we're doing, any of us, or as much as you're doing, that is what's called hoping for the best. Your hope is in your actions. If you're just trying to sit around and get some dopamine going in your brain so that you can feel better, you're not going to feel better. I have to tell you, at the beginning of this podcast, I was sitting in the chair here, and all of a sudden I said to the producer, I'm feeling a little nauseous. I don't know why. And he's like, of course you know why. Yes, I do know why. Yes, I know why, and I know why you feel that way. So we're not going to feel better for another week or so. So we just have to buck up here. We just have to get over it because we've got work to do. We will truly hate ourselves if in these next 6 days, if we do not do everything that we need to do. And you know, what we need to do is as simple as just convincing one person who's thinking about not voting or voting third party in this case. If you could convince just one person who's not planning to vote for Joe Biden to just this one time, just please, just do this, just this once. Agree with everything they're saying, because most of what they're saying is right about how corrupt our system is and about how non-democratic it is and everything else about it. My friends, we are pros at losing our side of the fence. We are disgustingly and embarrassingly pros at losing. Only once in the last 32 years, only once since George H.W. Bush 1, Daddy Bush, when he was elected in 1988, only once since that election, that's 32 years ago, have the Republicans won the popular vote. It's only once. That was in 2004, and it was by only one state, Ohio, by 150,000 votes. That's it. Every other presidential election after 1988 was won by the Democrats. But of those 32 years, 12 of them, this country was run by Republicans. W. Bush, Baby Bush, and Donald J. Trump. And the damage and destruction that they did to this country in those 12 years, oh my God. But think about that. Let's say you're listening to this right now. You're 28, you're 30 years old. Only once have you known a time when the Republicans actually won the popular vote. So in 6 of the 7 last presidential elections, the Democrats won. Now let's talk about what that means to the Supreme Court. Of the last 19 justices appointed to the Supreme Court, so for many of you, this is long before you were born, 15 of the 19 justices were appointed by Republicans. How about that? Yet we're the majority. We, whether you call yourself liberal, left, Democrat, democratic, anarchist, whatever. Well, maybe not anarchist. They've got their anarchists too. We've won 6 of the last 7. And it's possibly, perhaps, hopefully, going to be 8 out of 9. And yet we could still lose next week. We can't let this happen. I have been so, I don't know what the word is, in a rage since Monday night when they rammed through a new justice to the Supreme Court. They quickly held the vote at dinner time. The debate had occurred in the night before, 1, 2, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. Nobody saw it because they did it in the middle of the night. A lifetime appointment was debated in the middle of the night, so no American would be watching it. And then at dinner time, they held the roll call. And at 8:06, the President pro tem of the Senate, Charles Grassley, the senator from Iowa, Republican, sat there on the throne, and I'm going to play the actual tape. This is unedited, no sound effects, no touching, just from my iPhone, holding it up to my TV in the living room. This is exactly what happened. You'll hear him. He's going to announce the roll call and as to what the tally was at the end. Republicans will stand and cheer and applaud, and then all of a sudden, and this is not a switch, there's nothing wrong with your headset or anything when you hear this. It's exactly the sound that came from the Senate floor for the next minute or two. And I'm only going to play, a number of seconds of it, but you'll hear it. No editing here. Exactly as it happened at 8:06 p.m. on Monday evening in our United States Senate.
Are there any senators in the chamber who wish to vote or change their vote? If not, on this vote, the yeas are 52, the nays are 48. The nomination of Amy Coney Barrett of Indiana to be an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court of the United States is confirmed.
What was that? Did you hear that? That wasn't me. That is exactly how it came, right from the audio. C-SPAN's plugged right into the audio board of the U.S. Senate. And the Republicans, because they control the Senate, they control the microphone, they control the cameras, they control the audio outputs, they control everything. And that is exactly, the picture stayed on. You saw the senators walking around and discussing it and blah, blah afterwards. But after Amy Coney Barrett was voted onto the Supreme Court, what did that sound like? My first thought was, who turned The Exorcist on? I mean, seriously, it sounded like some part of hell I don't ever want to be in. The demonic cries of those who didn't make it to the big house up in the sky. Just play a little bit of that part again, just so people can hear. This is the actual sound from the audio board of the United States Senate seconds after they voted to put Barrett on the Supreme Court. Whoa, creepy. And I thought, yeah, okay, we'll just leave it at that. A half hour later, they were literally all at the White House for another Donald Trump reality show out on the South Lawn, complete with balcony, Hitler Mussolini style staging, except that this was to swear her in. Now, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court swears in the new justice, but the Supreme Court Chief Justice, John Roberts, wasn't there. And I don't think anybody's really told us the truth as to why. I mean, the White House tried to put out how Judge Barrett wanted Clarence Thomas to swear her in. They wanted Associate Justice Clarence Thomas, the right-wing Supreme Court Justice, to swear her in. But I don't think that's what happened, friends. There's no way they would. I mean, this is a purposeful diss of John Roberts, the Chief Justice. And no way would she want to do that. Here's what I think. I think, of course, they wanted the Chief Justice there to put his stamp on it. He refused to go. Now, they'll deny this, but there's no way. Anything that we now know about John Roberts, there's no way he was going to go and be a prop at a political event the week before the election, another one of Trump's South Lawn stage shows. He wasn't going to do it. My guess is he refused to do it. And so, of course, they got Clarence Thomas to come in and do it. Well, here's where we're at. I was so angry. And so I just thought, wow, when history writes about when abortion was made illegal again, they should mark it as this past Monday night, the 26th of October, 2020, is when Roe v. Wade was really nullified. Yes, they'll have their hearings and they'll take their testimony over the next year. And within the year, that's the end of women having a right and a say over their own bodies. Wait, I'm just speaking to the guys now. Can you imagine a Supreme Court or any law telling us what we can do with anything to do with us? No way. Well, we cannot sit by and let this happen. And I don't know what the solution is going to be at this point with a 6-3 Supreme Court, but we cannot sit by. And let me tell you this too, my friends. The damage here with the Supreme Court, Trump's not done. You think Trump's done. You know, okay, well, we got through that. We didn't win, but, you know, we just got to get him out of there now. Let's just get him out of there. Yeah. Okay. We'll get ready. Again, I hate to be the bearer of bad news here. And of course, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen. But haven't we all seen enough of Trump? No, to just when you think you've seen the worst, it just gets worser. He's still got November, December, January to the 20th, and right now we're at the end of October. So, oh man, under 4 months left. Even if defeated next week, all the damage he can do. And so I wrote this little thing I posted. I just want to read it to you. I wrote this on Monday night after Clarence Thomas and Trump climbed the stairs, and I just imagined where they went next. So here's my question. If you were a psychotic misogynist and a severely malignant narcissist, and you just successfully and valiantly rammed through the Senate, your third justice to the Supreme Court, what would you be sitting around and thinking about as you finished off your final thigh from the bucket of KFC? Well, we know Trump well enough by now to know that, well, he'd be saying in that 5-year-old whiny, pouty mind of his, just 3 justices? Is that all? I want 4. I want 4. I want 4. And at that moment, Trump, I know, you looked over there inside the residential quarters of the White House. You're up there, and you looked over at the man sitting next to you beside your presidential bed. The man who showed up on Monday night for you as a favor, because the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, who usually swears in the new justices, refused to participate in this charade. Or maybe Amy just didn't want him there and wanted Clarence Thomas because, you know, Roberts to her, well, she didn't want to be sworn in and put a hand in a Bible anywhere near the man who voted on the Supreme Court to protect Obamacare because, you know, Obamacare kills the unborn babies. Well, however it happened, Trump, you, and this man sitting there with you up there, upstairs at the White House Monday night. Yes, look at him. He did this for you. He came to this ceremony. He swore her in. And now you're looking right at him. You're looking right into his 72-year-old eyes that actually look more like they're 82 years old. And you say to him in your best Mafia Don voice, you know, Clarence, these Democrats, they're going to be in power for 8 years. Maybe 16 years after President Kamala. You'll be almost 90 years old, if you're even alive. I think you know what's the best thing to do. For Republicans, for right-to-lifers like yourself, you, Clarence, need to resign so I can appoint an Afro-American to the Supreme Court. And Clarence, of course, replied, yes, sir, I am here to serve our great cause. And unlike with Judge Amy, Trump and the Republicans can now take their time with this new 4th appointment, because they'll have a whopping 59 days from the election next week not 37, like how they got her through in 37 days. They'll have a whopping 59 days between the election and when the new Democratic Senate takes over on January 2nd. Plenty of time to slam the fourth Trump justice through the Trump Senate. And you know what? Here's the sad part. They know they can get away with it because they know Democrats are weak. Democrats are not fighters. I mean, look how easy number 3 just was. And all Trump will have to do to get them to stand down is to accuse the Democrats of planning to pack. They're planning to pack the Supreme Court when they take office. And the Democrats are, oh no. And then they back down. The Democrats just back down. And Trump will have his fourth justice put onto the Supreme Court just in the nick of time. I know most of you are not saying, oh, Michael, that can't happen. What do we all know now after nearly 4 years? Anything can happen. And there's all the other things we've paid no attention to because we've been so focused on the big ass shit. We haven't noticed that Trump and it's just been 3 years and 8 months since he started appointing judges. In these 3 years and 8 months, he has packed 220 federal judges onto the federal judiciary. 220. And the Democrats get all nervous. Oh, they're accusing us of packing. Talk about packing. No. 220. That's the right number, my friends. Amy was number 220 of Trump judges that are all lifetime appointments. That you and I and many of us, they're with us for the rest of our lives. And if you're 20 years younger than me, they're there for the rest of your life too. He's gotten away with so much. Don't think he can't get away with it again in his final 3 or 4 months here. He'll do anything that he thinks he can do, legal or illegal. In this case, it would be legal. The Constitution allows him to do it and allows the Senate to do it. I'm not saying this to get you all bummed out again. I'm just asking you to join me in the fight because we have to get ready here. We have to get ready. And we can't wait another minute. What Trump is planning to do on election day, on election night, I'm telling you, the Justice Department, the federal marshals, he's going to seize ballot boxes. He's going to seize hard drives. He's going to say that no vote should count after midnight Pacific time, midnight Hawaii time. That's it. Because that's the election day. The Constitution says it's the first Tuesday of November. This is the argument he's going to make. And it's only the votes we have on the first Tuesday of November. And he now has a 6-3 Supreme Court who's going to back him up on that. If you are thinking of mailing your ballot today, they say today maybe is the last day. If it's that 6-day average, it'll arrive on Tuesday, but why risk it at this point? If you can take it down to the city clerk, the village clerk, wherever you're at, just find out where you're supposed to take it. Or one of the election ballot boxes, the outdoor boxes. I think those are pretty safe. Don't put a stamp on it. So many people's ballots are not going to be counted because people put a stamp on it. And one stamp, the post office will not deliver it. It's too heavy and big. It's 65 cents a postage. That's 2 stamps. It's like a stamp and a half, but it's not even, you know what I'm saying. It's not enough. One stamp, they won't deliver it. And if you're saying to yourself, oh man, Mike, I already sent it in with 1 stamp. Well, you can still, because remember, all these ballots now have either some kind of barcode or QR code or some kind of number code where that's how they can track the ballots. And you can call up and you can say, what do I need to do? Or go on iwillvote.com and they'll tell you what you can do in your state, what the law says. Where you want to negate your your absentee ballot and show up in person on election day. Or you want to go show up in person now at the city clerk's office. They'll have ballots there in most states. I think it's still, not all, but a lot of states you can still vote right there in person. Figure out what it is you've got to do and do it. I know. I started this by saying I was feeling nauseous. I'd like to tell you that it's gone away, but it hasn't. And I know we're all worried. We're all worried about what will Trump do. He won't accept the results. He said that already. He's threatened violence. He's asked militias to be ready. He's called the whole thing a hoax. Of course, if he can prove that he won, then of course it won't be a hoax. But, we're all so worried about, what will we do? What will we do when he doesn't accept it? But I think, I was talking to Basil about this here, our executive producer, and Basil said, well, they should be worried about what we're going to do when they steal the election from us. That should be the only question. Through all what they've done with the Postal Service, all they're doing with these ballots, all the ways that they are rigging this, they should be worried about us, and not worried about us because of violence or anything like that, just because we're the majority of the country. We are the country. We are the majority. They are the minority. The majority of Americans vote for us. That's what they've done for the last 32 years. The majority of Americans want us in power. They want us making the laws. They don't want them. They know it. They know they're not wanted. So instead of accepting the defeat and the rejection and the humiliation, that's really a big part of it, from the American people, they devised various systems from gerrymandering to all sorts of voter suppression to make sure that we can't have a say. And they need to be worried about that from now on because we're the majority. Why isn't that question asked? Why is it constantly being asked of what will we do about them? The media and the Republicans need to ask, what are we going to do about Michael Moore? And everybody else like him. Because this time, we could win the popular vote by 10 million votes this time. Do you realize that? It's possible. There could be 70 million people voting for Biden, 80 million, 90 million. Maybe, possibly. It's very possible. What are they going to do when they try to steal an election, when we win it in a landslide, in a tsunami of ballots? What are they going to do? That's the question everybody should be asking right now. Not what we're going to do about them. They need to know and need to be worried about us. And then we have to ask ourselves the question, what will we do? We know we've won the election, and now they're going to try to claim it's theirs. What are we going to do? What? I'm seriously asking you this question. I don't have the answer for you tonight, but we don't have much more time to think about this. I need you to help me. I need you to come up with some ideas. What are we going to do when they steal our election? That's the only question now. Drop me a short email. I'll read everything if you keep it short. Drop me a short email or a voicemail. The voicemail link is right on this podcast platform site. Just go and click on it and you get 60 seconds to tell me what the hell we're going to do. The email address is Mike, that's me, at michaelmoore.com. That's it. I need to hear from you. I need to hear from you now because we need to discuss this before Tuesday. And we have run out of time. I'm just going to close with a little poem I wrote, often what I do when I'm really angry. And because I am a nonviolent person. So after Amy was anointed by the Republican Senate, they will pay for that. I wrote a poem. Whack the court. Pack it, stack it, frack it, smack it, shellac it, clack it, knick-knack and paddywhack it, crack it open, shack it up, rack it. Yes, it's a racket. black it, brown it, green it, blue it, expand it, term limit it, fix it now. Okay, I had 90 seconds, so I don't even have a title for this poem. I don't even know if it is a poem, but it felt better once I got it out of me. So use your art and your creativity, folks. It's in all of us. Don't hold it in. The fight is now upon us in these 6 days. And it is a dark time. It is a dark, dark time. And we have to do this while we're in the middle of a vicious pandemic. And we have to stay safe while we're doing it. And I'll tell you this. I'm going to close. I'm going to go back to the Dylan song at the beginning. A hard rain's going to fall, because that's what it feels like right now. A hard rain is falling. And we have to come out of this alive. And we have to come out of this with a better country. And we have to come out as better people. So I'm going to play the other verses of the song, but I got 2 or 3 of these verses here by other singers and songwriters who've covered this song with Dylan. So you're going to hear from Jason Mraz, Edie Brickell and the New Bohemians, Eliza Gillickson. They'll do the next 3 verses, and then we'll let Dylan close it out. So maybe just close your eyes for a minute and listen to these words and the music. And we've come through some awful stuff before, and we will come through this, but not with hope, with action. Thanks everybody for listening. This has been Rumble. You're a part of it. There's no choice any of us have now. We're all in the Rumble. I'm Michael Moore. Thank you.
And what did he see, my blue-eyed son? And what did you see, my darling young one? I saw a newborn baby with wild wolves around it. Saw a highway of diamonds with nobody on it. I saw a black branch with blood that kept dripping. I saw a room full of men with their hammers bleeding. And I saw a white ladder all covered with water. I saw 10,000 talkers whose tongues were all broken. I saw guns and sharp swords in the hands of young children. And it's a hard, and it's a hard, rains are gonna fall.
Did you hear, my darling young one? I heard the sound of a thunder that roared out a warning. Heard the roar of a wave that could drown the whole world. I heard 100 drummers whose hands were blazing. I heard 10,000 whispering, nobody listened. I heard one person starve, heard many people laughing. Heard the song of a
my blue-eyed son. And what'll you do now, my darling young one? I'm a-going back out for the rain starts a-falling. I'll walk to the depths of the deepest dark forest, where the people are many and their hands are all empty, where the pellets of poison are flooding their waters, where the home in the valley meets the damp, dirty prison, and the executioner's face is always well hidden, where hunger is ugly, where the souls are forgotten, where black is the color, where none is the number. And I'll tell it and speak it and think it and breathe it, and reflect from the mountains so all souls can see it. And I'll stand on the ocean until I start sinking, but I'll know my song well before I start singing. And it's a hard, it's a hard, it's a hard, and it's a hard, it's a hard rains are gonna fall.